Ladies and gents, yes, sir. Welcome back once again. All Things Covered with Patrick Peterson and Bryant McFadden. Of course, the Minnesota Vikings, their season is over. But for us, our season is still going. And with that being said, we got to keep you guys informed, in the loop on what's happening, not just in the NFL world, but just throughout everything, entertainment. But the big story for us, Pat P, of course, SKOL Check-In. We must service the SKOL Nation. The big news that just recently surfaced, right? Ed Donatel is fired. Unfortunately, it wasn't the expectations wasn't necessarily met in regards to the scheme. Some people had issues with the scheme, the production, the numbers, the consistency. Well, they decided to part ways. A lot of fans were jumping in our comment section saying that should be the first thing the Vikings do. You never want to see an individual lose their job, but that's the nature of the beast in the National Football League. What was your reaction, Pat P, when you heard your DC Ed Donatel just got fired?
I was shocked, to see that they moved on for Coach Ed. But like we all know how the business goes. If they feel like you're not, holding up to the standard that that they're holding you to, changes are going to be made, so, it's just unfortunate that, they had to make that change just after 1 year. Coach Ed is just such a great human being, has a great connection with the players. Very, very, I just love the way he communicates with his players, just communicate with everyone like men, as it should be, so I love this scheme. Just unfortunate we didn't perform, better, because it's proven that the scheme works. The scheme is phenomenal.
Why wasn't it working?
I think early on in the year, because our scheme is just so based off, getting pressure with our front four, without, applying pressure with our front four. And once teams start realizing that, we had two really good guys off the edge. If you go back and look, the first 8 seasons, we was getting off on the quarterback. We wasn't blitzing at all. Yeah, we was giving up chunks because, we was being in a much more of a zone defense, eyes for the most part. But they was just normally 5-0 protecting us, meaning it was their 5 guys versus our 4 guys.
Yep.
And then once they, start seeing, Z was having monster games, 2-sack game, 3 sacks game, just going crazy at that point of the season, they started coming out in these thumper and chipper sets, meaning putting the H back closer to the tackles to kind of detour our pass rushers to give the quarterback that much more of time to find his receivers. And when you pretty much playing a zone and your pass rush is not getting there, your receiver is going to find those open areas to be able to, make plays for the opposing offense. So I think once teams started, getting in that max protection look, and it was hard for us to kind of change our identity on the back end, I just think that's when, we wasn't getting as much pressure as we needed to the quarterback to make the defense that much more successful.
What type of defensive coordinator do you believe the Vikings should target next? I know I heard you guys, Brian Flores is one of the candidates that was requested to be interviewed. Of course, some other names as well. But when you talk about just the scheme, the philosophy, what do you think, in your personal opinion? You know what I mean? What would you like to see?
Yeah, I think mantra be someone that still has the 3-4 scheme. You got to have that scheme if you're still trying to keep, Daniil is still in contract, but you never know what they're going to do with that. You just signed Z to a nice contract, and those are 3-4 guys. Daniil is technically a 4-3 guy, but they kind of made him into a stand-up. But anywho, I think it has to be a 3-4 scheme. Just aggressive, just being aggressive, forcing offenses to change their hand, being more of the guy, being more of the defense that's, pressing the issue versus, sitting back and relaxing, and that's what I played in my whole career. So that's pretty much all I know. I didn't, being in Arizona for 10 years, being with Ray Horton coming from the Steelers, being with Todd Bowles, being with James Betcher, who came from Todd Bowles, then Vance Joseph, another high pressure guy, so that's pretty much all I played in. So that's kind of like all I know. But I will say this, it did give me an opportunity to scheme that I did playing last year. It did give me an opportunity to see the quarterback a little bit more and help me get my second season high in picks with 5.
No question. You play with 3 eyes, you usually make big time plays. You know what I mean? You were able to do so. So SKOL Nation, I guess, is a wait and see process to see exactly what will happen in regards to some of the candidates that will be interviewed. I know you guys will be following this story, intensely, because defense win championships. You want to be able to have the Minnesota Vikings defense doing what they've been called to do and the expectation. So wait and see approach for all of us, but as we just detailed and talked about, Ed Donatell is no longer the DC for the Minnesota Vikings going after 1 year. Some of the numbers, when you look at some of the defensive numbers, you had an overall good record team-wise, but the defense ranked 28th in points and 31st in yards allowed. Not the place you want to be in regards to statistics. So let's see exactly what happens next. We will stay tuned, and anything we hear, guess what? We will make sure you guys hear it as well. Going to take a quick break, and when we come back, around the league, championship weekend is coming up. Let's see exactly what Pat P believes will happen or won't happen. Stay tuned. When we're back, now it's time to tap into Around the League. Boy, this is one of the more entertaining, highly anticipated weekends in the National Football League. Championship weekend, AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game. Let's tap into the AFC first. Your favorite team, the team you've been riding with the entire playoffs, the Cincinnati Bengals. They're still in it, traveling to Kansas City, playing against a team they've had a lot of success against. I already know where you're going, Pat P. I assume you're going with Joe Cool, right? Joe Cool, bro.
I'm going with Joe Cool, man.
Do you feel overly confident knowing that Pat Mahomes has a high ankle sprain, or you still feel like regardless, if he was 100% healthy, Cincinnati was going to take care of business?
Yeah, I feel like if Patty was 100% healthy, Joe Burrow in the game, Who Dat Nation, or whatever you want to call themselves, it's still going to win that. Well, we're still going to win that football game. Regardless, because I just feel like here is why I think they was going to win regardless. The Chiefs, they always have a hot start, but they always hit that point in the game to where it's like 2 or 3 series to where they get like a little cold stretch. You can't have no cold stretch with Joe Burrow. Their defense a little bit suspect. Chiefs, I'm speaking of.
Yep.
And I know obviously they have they rely on the front four to get pressure. Chris Jones in the game to get pressure on the quarterback. Frank Clark and all those guys. But if Joe got some time to throw the ball to whoever the receivers are, he's gonna dice you up. And Cincinnati defense, in my opinion, is better than the Kansas City defense. And
they're underrated. They're an underrated group in regards to how productive they've been, but not necessarily being in the conversations of some of the best defenses in the National Football League. You know what I mean? But they're a group that can get the job done. In regards to Joe Burrow, it's almost like you got to pick your poison. Because if you play a shell-like defense when you're protecting anything deep with your both safeties back, they can run the football. They showed that this past weekend against Buffalo. But if you want to cheat up one of those safeties, now you got to make sure your guys in the back end can cover those outstanding, talented wide receivers they have. And now Hayden Hurst, the tight end, who was a former first rounder.
I don't care who he's going to.
So more of the story, you got to try to find a way to get pressure on Joe Burrow, only doing it with 4 guys.
Yep.
And utilizing everyone else in coverage. Because if you can do that, then he might not be as cool as he's been in these ball games. But if you don't, as I stated, man, he's cooler than a polar bear's toenail. Shout out to Big Boy, by the way. So I'm right there with you. I'm taking Cincinnati.
And I'm taking Cincinnati, but we cannot be like, we can't expect a lot of high exotic pressures from the Kansas City defense now. We got to remember who the defensive coordinator is.
Yeah, Spagnuolo.
Yeah, Spaz is he's the mastermind when it comes to creating, dialing up blitzes and creating all these different stunts. But I tell you what, they better get home.
They got to get home.
Ooh, Joe Burrow.
They got to get home. And even though Pat Mahomes won't be 100%, he's so talented that the pressure is kind of on Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid this year because he is probably the most talented quarterback in the National Football League, especially in regards to throwing the football and what he can do.
Who are you speaking of, Joe or Patrick?
Pat. Speaking of Pat Mahomes, right?
Yeah,
right.
Far.
So when you have that type of talent, we want to see you get to a championship game. We want to see you win more than one championship. That was one of the debates in regards to Aaron Rodgers. When you talk about arm talent throughout his time, we will always say he's probably the cream of the crop. Right. But only one championship to show for it, one Super Bowl appearance to show for it. When you have that type of talent, people want to see you get there. Get there more.
I agree.
So even though he's not healthy, the pressure is on because they beat the Chiefs last year in Kansas City.
And you got to think about the pressure's always on though when it comes to Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, just because they've been to 5 straight in the AFC
this is their 5th straight. That's what I'm saying, Pat P. So if you go to 5 straight, and you only got one Super Bowl to show for it with one of the more talented quarterbacks in the National Football League, probably I consider Pat Mahomes to be a more mobile Dan Marino.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan Marino's my favorite quarterback.
We also got to think about who they lost to, though, in those. It's not like they lost to some slouches. They lost to Peyton 1 year.
Pat P, it don't matter.
Who they lost to Joe Burrow, who's probably a top 2 quarterback in the league right now.
They beat San Francisco. They lost to Tampa, right?
Tom Brady, another Hall of Fame.
I understand that. But what happened last year is why I believe this year is so important. Because you lost to a team that was the 4th seed in the playoffs with an offensive line that has been much maligned, and they still beat you in the fashion in which they beat you last year.
Yeah.
That's why I say this year is pivotal.
Yeah, I agree that the pressure's on because of the magnitude of the game from last year. But I thought you were saying the pressure was on just because they
no.
5 AFC championship. I'm like,
no. I think it's more so about the way they lost last year. Now you're playing the same team again.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with you on that part. I agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So let's transition before we go, Pat P, to the NFC. San Francisco with Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, traveling to Philly. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, and the crew. Who you picking in that ballgame?
Man, I was high on the 49ers, throughout the playoffs. But I watched that Philly game when they played the Giants. Whoo, them boys look dominant, boy. I mean, 49ers look dominant too. But Philly, them boys on a whole other level.
Hey, what I said, Rookie, I said, watching the Giants versus the Eagles reminded me of the national championship game when we saw TCU versus Georgia. The Giants ain't have enough 5 stars and 4 stars.
They ain't have enough 5 stars. They have enough 5-star recruits.
They have enough recruits. It didn't matter what Daniel Jones did. It didn't matter.
Trying to tell you. I mean, any and everything. I mean, everything went right for them boys.
Everything, my guy.
Yeah, and for Jalen Hurts to come out there and put on the performance that he did, it just shows that he's the MVP of the league, man. Like,
whoa.
Yeah, he's the MVP of the league.
No.
Yeah. MVP of the league, man.
Mm-mm.
Here's why. And the only reason he's not going to get MVP of the league because he missed 2 games.
That's a big plus.
Huh?
That's a big plus, but I hear what you're saying.
And that's the only reason that he's not the MVP of the game. He lost 1 game this year, Matt.
He did.
He put the team on his back, and it showed when he's in the lineup, they're unstoppable.
Hey, I agree. I see your argument, but you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I know Patty's going to get it.
Patty
but
gonna
I'm saying,
Patty,
if he wouldn't have missed those 2 games, he was by far the lead MVP.
Patty is going to get it. But then also, too, in regards to Pat Mahomes' argument for him, outside of Travis Kelce, who does he have?
I mean, that's almost sound like Peyton Manning when he won it with Adrian James.
I understand that, but
Harrison.
Listen, I said this during the season. I felt like before the season, when I went to training camp to watch the Eagles, they had the most talented team then. I'm like, they got some dudes, bro.
Yeah, by far. Everywhere.
They've really done a great job assembling that roster. Hassan Reddick. They got 3 guys on the defensive side that got double-digit sacks.
I know, bro.
They got a 1,200-yard rusher, a 1,100-yard receiver, a 1,400-yard receiver, 3 guys with double-digit sacks. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who missed almost half of the year, he got 6 interceptions. 6. You got a Pro Bowler, all-pro at the corners. Like, that's like it's a tall task for San Francisco. And I'm not saying I'm picking San Francisco because of Brock Purdy being their quarterback. No, I am not picking San Francisco because of Brock Purdy being their quarterback. No, that has nothing to do with it. I'm picking the Eagles because they just got more talent.
Yeah, they're the better team.
And they're well coached. Now, granted, anything can happen. A ball can bounce your way, a turnover. Yeah. But if both teams play clean football, the Eagles gonna win.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But hey, Pat P, Championship Sunday is upon us. I can't wait to see exactly what happens because we get a chance to see exactly who will be going to the Super Bowl in Arizona, where we will be as well. And let us know what you guys would like to see us do out in Arizona. Let us know from the comment section, tap in because Pat P is playing in the waste management. I thought I was going to be his caddy, but he told me I got to carry a bag for 15 holes. That don't make sense.
18, man.
18. I'm not signing up for that. I didn't know I had to do that. I thought I was going to be like his personal interviewer guy, and I'm talking to Pat P. What do we think of here, Pat? Should we do this? How you going? What club you need? But he want me to carry the bag.
Nope.
That don't even make sense.
You got to carry the bag, Mac.
No, I'm sorry. I'll wait for you at the 18th hole. I started the first. I'll wait for you at the 8th. Now I have a beverage for you too.
I already know you will, my guy.
No question. Hey, but Pat P, man, listen, great show once again. Like I said, we will keep you guys informed if we hear anything in regards to defensive coordinator search. Pat P, continue to enjoy your off season.
Yes, sir.
We will link up in person. Don't worry, out in Arizona. But until then, see you when we see you. Peace.
Peace.